What's up, everyone? Welcome to the June 11th edition of DraftKings Tournament Plays presented by Prize Picks. I'm your host, Adam Scherer. You can follow me on Twitter at ShipMyMoneyDFS. And as a reminder, use the code Awesemo when you sign up and make a deposit at Prize Picks. You'll receive a 100% deposit bonus up to $100 on that first deposit. We have a 5-game MLB slate tonight on DraftKings. As usual, going to take a look at 3 of the top tournament stacks and 3 of the top tournament pitchers using the top stacks tool and the top pitchers tool on the Awesemo.com website. Starting with the top 3 stacks. Number 3, the Colorado Rockies are taking on Mackenzie Gore tonight in San Diego. Very difficult matchup for the Rockies. They're a below average offense with a 91 WRC plus and a 140 ISO. Gore has been very good this year for the Padres, striking out 30% of hitters with a 3.12 xFIP. He's a very highly regarded prospect, and he's living up to that so far, but only 10 offenses to choose from. The Rockies are projected for about 6% aggregate ownership with an 8% chance of being the top scoring stack and an 11% chance of being the top value stack. Number 2, Los Angeles Dodgers taking on Sammy Long in San Francisco. Long has only struck out 16.4% of hitters with a 5.09 xFIP this season. The Dodgers have a 115 WRC plus and a 171 ISO on their active roster. They have a 5.3 implied run total. They're projected for about 15% ownership with a 17% chance of being the top scoring stack and a 7% chance of being the top value stack. And number 1, the New York Mets taking on Michael Lorenzen tonight in Anaheim. The Mets have been the most productive offense in baseball with a 122 WRC plus, 151 ISO, projected for 13% ownership with a 15% chance of being the top scoring stack and a 15% chance of being the top value stack. Lorenzen has only struck out 18.6% of hitters this year with a 4.3 xFIP. Now, looking at the top 3 tournament pitchers, number 3, Michael Lorenzen in that difficult matchup against the Mets. Honestly, this is just a case of there's only 10 pitchers on the slate. Kind of had to pick a third guy if I'm going to do the top 3 pitchers. I don't have any level of confidence here. He is only projected for 3% ownership. We have him right now with a 22% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. I think one of those 2 numbers changes. Either our top 2 percentage comes down or Lorenzen's ownership goes up. I don't think the gap ends up being that wide, but I do expect that Lorenzen ends up being not popular because he shouldn't be. The matchup's horrible. And is likely to be a little bit under-owned here, despite the difficult matchup against the Mets. But again, no real redeeming qualities here for Lorenzen. He's only struck out 18.5% of hitters this year. The Mets have been the best offense in baseball. They only have a 19.3% strikeout percentage as well. So there's no real push to get to Lorenzen other than he's going to be relatively low owned, and it's only a 5-game slate. Number 2, George Kirby, 33% projected ownership, 32% chance of being a top 2 pitcher, and a 41% chance of being a top 2 value pitcher. He's only $7,100. He does have a difficult matchup against the Red Sox, but this is a highly regarded pitching prospect. He has very good stuff. He's struck out 23.7% of hitters so far this year. He has a 3.38 xFIP. Like I said, the matchup is difficult. The Red Sox have a 112 WRC plus and have only struck out 21.2% of the time, but Kirby is very inexpensive here. And number 1, Carlos Carrasco, currently projected for only 22% ownership with a 40% chance of being a top 2 pitcher and a 30% chance of being a top 2 value pitcher at $9,400, taking on the struggling Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Carrasco has struck out 23.1% of hitters with a 3.4 xFIP so far this year. The Angels have been in free fall mode recently, 106 WRC plus and a 25.9% strikeout percentage overall this season. So to recap, the top 3 tournament stacks on DraftKings: number 3, the Colorado Rockies; number 2, the Los Angeles Dodgers; number 1, the New York Mets. And the top 3 tournament pitchers: number 3, Michael Lorenzen; number 2, George Kirby; and number 1, Carlos Carrasco.